Yes, we fired our IVF doctor, and it probably wasn't the smartest decision at the time, but overall, it was the best decision for us. Welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, we're the Giovanonis. In our fertility series, I've been sharing our whole infertility journey with you guys and giving you tips and tricks along the way to better help you or someone you might know who's going through infertility themselves. In the past 2 videos, I shared with you guys the who's, what, and when's of infertility, how to start the process, tests and procedures your doctor might run on you and your partner. And then we went more in depth into what happens during the IUI process and sperm washing. In today's video, I'm going to share exactly why we fired our IVF doctor and some of the things you guys should look out for when it comes to IVF specialists so you don't make the same mistakes we did. So after 3 rounds of IUI and 1 fresh IVF cycle with this same male doctor, we decided it was time to switch our reproductive endocrinologist. And listen, this was during the height of COVID. And in our area, the wait list for like really good IVF specialists were a mile long. Let me give you an idea. The female IVF specialist that I wanted to see from the jump, her wait list was 6 months. I had to wait 6 months to see her. And y'all, when I tell you I did my research on her, she was the one I wanted my husband and I to go to. But we also didn't want to wait that long. So we went with the male doctor. Like at that time, my husband and I were 7 years into our relationship. We were not waiting another month to start our family, okay? Now here's the thing. From the jump, there were no red flags with this doctor, okay? None. 0. Like we actually liked him. Even to this day, like no hard feelings, just wasn't for us, but like he was a very nice man. You can tell he was very knowledgeable about his profession. He answered all our questions we had during our initial consultation, and he had good bedside manners as a doctor. Like he sympathized with our wanting to have a kid after so long, you know, like he was a good doctor. And to put the cherry on top, y'all, I did my research on him after I decided, okay, like, yeah, we're just gonna have to find a different doctor because I'm not waiting 6 months for the female doctor. His reviews were amazing. I started talking to some of my fellow coworkers at work who's gone through IVF as well. And come to find out, one of them actually had the same exact doctor. What are the odds? When I tell you she sang his praises, I was feeling good. Yeah, I was like, okay, cool. We're going to stick with him. Now, if you watched our last video on the IUI process, you'll know he's the doctor who did all 3 cycles for us. And all 3 of them were a bust. And that's when we decided to move on to IVF with him. And at this point, if you don't know what an IUI procedure is, go watch my last video. Wealth of information there. I'll link it above. Just as a reminder, IUI is not as costly as IVF and it's a whole lot less involved. Now, here's what you guys need to know about the IUI cycles and the first IVF cycle that we did with this doctor. To start each cycle, he had me on birth control. I know what you're thinking. Birth control, but you're trying to get pregnant. Stay with me. Stay with me. There are a few reasons why a reproductive endocrinologist will have you start birth control at the start of each IVF or IUI cycle. So in my case, giving me the birth control at the start of the IUI and IVF cycles, it's apparently supposed to help control my period and ovulation times. That's just essentially making it easier for my doctor to manage the schedule and timeline of IVF treatments. But see, after doing so much more research around all those times that our cycles were failing and knowing how poorly my body responds to birth control, my husband and I was like, all right, we got to take the driver's seat. We got to put the doctor in the back seat this round. And that's when it happened, y'all. While we were in talks with our doctor for the IVF cycle, like what was going to happen and all that, we pretty much just asked him to find a different protocol for us that didn't involve birth control. Let's just say my doctor's tone was politely condescending. It was the vibe of like polite, but still like, I'm the doctor, you're a patient. I went to school for this, you don't know nothing type of vibe. And granted, but like, listen to me, I'm your patient. So then he proceeds to tell us like, okay, listen, we're gonna start you on a lower microdose of birth control with this. And I'm like, you know, I checked out. You ain't listening, checked out. And it's not because we think that was the reason why we didn't get pregnant with the first 3 IUI cycles, but just because, listen, my body don't like it. I did my research. I know there's other ways to go about this. It doesn't need to be birth control. Let's not start with that. So it was clear we felt like our voice wasn't being heard, you guys. And that's when we checked out and was like, we're looking for a different doctor. The first 3 IUI cycles were a bust with him. The first IVF cycle was a bust with him. We weren't willing to do a second IVF cycle with him just not listening to what we wanted. So when his admin reached out when it came time for the second IVF cycle, I pretty much gave her the Shawnee O'Neal.
Thank you for your services.
So where did that put us now? We were with him for 8 months, y'all. That's a long time. 8 months later, doctorless, still on that wait list. But y'all would not believe our luck. 3 months later, our first choice IVF doctor called me, you guys. Her office called me, told me I'm off the wait list, and when can I start? Immediately. Now hold your horses, because with this new doctor, there was some wild bumps and rides too. But we'll get into that in another video. Now, if you've gone through something similar where you felt like your voice was not being heard by your doctor, I'm here to remind you to do your research, trust your instincts, and don't be afraid to seek second opinions. I think we all need to start advocating for ourselves when it comes to our body and health, whether it's general or reproductive health. I'll say it again, it was a really tough decision getting rid of a doctor you've been with for 8 months, especially in the middle of a pandemic when you don't even know when you're going to find the next doctor. But in the long run, it was the right decision for us. Now, if you found this video helpful, please give us a thumbs up, like, subscribe, comment down below, and hit that notification bell button because y'all, this next IVF story is a doozy.